Trinadapi sunichena tarariva sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari Hare Nama Hare Nama Hare Nama eva kivalam Kalo nastyeva 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 gatiranyata. We are studying the Srimad Bhagavad-Gītā as it is, also known as Gita-upanishad. Bhagavad-Gītā is a summary of all the Vedic scriptures. As Srila Prabhupada writes, we do not have enough time to read all the Vedic literatures. So if we just read this one book, Bhagavad-Gītā, that is sufficient. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So we are in the final chapter, chapter 18, known as Conclusion, the perfection of renunciation. Renunciation can be compared to a coin. Two sides to the coin. For those transcendentalists who are impersonalists, who do not accept the personal feature of the absolute truth, their coin is one-sided. Renunciation simply means to become completely detached from all material consciousness, material activities, and to become one with the absolute truth. The process entails a negative understanding because they cannot come up with a positive definition of the absolute truth. All they can do is say what it is not. And it is not anything that is conceived or perceived in terms of the material universe or material existence. It is completely opposite. The other class of transcendentalists, known as the devotees, the bhaktas, their coin of renunciation has two sides. They agree with the impersonalists that one should become detached from any and everything in this material world. But to complete renunciation, one has to become attached to Krishna, who is the last word in the absolute truth. We heard at the end of the previous chapter, chapter 17, the final section of chapter 17 was on the three words Om Tat Sat. And Krishna explained that Om Tat Sat signifies the absolute truth, and that the Brahmanas engage in their activities by invoking this transcendental sound vibration, Om Tat Sat. For the devotees, Om is actually three letters, A signifying Krishna, U signifying Srimati Radharani, and M representing the living entities. The three sounds A, U, and M combine to form the pranava known as Omkar. Om, everybody? Om. That Om is a complete sound vibration which signifies the absolute truth. And in the Vedic mantras, there is always Nama, obeisances, Om signifying the absolute truth, and then the name is giving Nama Om or Om Namo Narayanaya, Om Namo Govindaya, Om Namo Rishikesaya, Om Namo Janardanaya. In this way, the Vedic mantras are vibrated with Om Namo and then the name of God. So let's pick up now in this chapter 18, the perfection of renunciation. Even this is one of Krishna's opulences. Krishna has Shad Aishvarya, 6 opulences. One of them is renunciation. He demonstrated renunciation, for instance, the night of the Rasa dance, when he left the gopis and he left Srimati Radharani, showing everyone how he is completely renounced. Another example of his renunciation is that when he delivered the Shyamantaka jewel to his soon-to-be father-in-law, Shatrajit, because Krishna's name was blemished, and Shatrajit had sent a rumor that Krishna had stolen the Shyamantaka jewel. So Krishna had to clear his name. And when he returned, he brought back his second wife, Jambavati, and he showed Shatrajit and all the people of Dwaraka, here is the Shyamantaka jewel. And Shatrajit, in order to make up for his offense of blaspheming Krishna, he offered his beautiful daughter, Krishna's third wife, Satyabhama, and he wanted Krishna to keep the jewel. But Krishna said, no, I have no need for the jewel. You can keep it in your temple, because Satyajit was making great amount of gold. Brahmanas were worshipping this Shyamantaka jewel, and it was producing so many pounds of gold daily. So Krishna said, I have no use for this Shyamantaka jewel. You can put it back in the temple and make your money. So Krishna was detached from the Shyamantaka jewel. So even Krishna himself displays renunciation. Another example of his renunciation, in that he only married 16,108 wives. That's all. He could have married 16 gajillion. But to demonstrate his renunciation, he only married 16,108. Please repeat text number 12 in the book. We are following along. Please repeat. Anishtam ishtam misrang cha
Anishtam ishtam mishram cha
Trividham karmana phalam
Trividam karmana phalam
Bhavat yaginam pretya
Bhavatyattyaginam pretya
Natu sanyasinam kvachit.
Natu sanyasinam kvachit.
Now we do the synonyms. Please repeat. Anishtam,
Anishtam,
leading to hell.
leading to hell.
Ishtam,
Ishtam,
leading to heaven.
leading to heaven.
Mishram,
Mishram,
mixed.
mixed.
Cha,
Cha
and.
and
Trividham,
Trividam,
of 3 kinds.
of 3 kinds.
Karmanaha,
Karmanaha,
of work.
of work.
Phalam,
Phalam,
and the result.
the result.
Bhavati,
Bhavati
comes.
comes.
At yaginam,
Tyaginam,
for those who are not renounced.
for those who are not renounced.
Pretya,
Pritya,
after death.
after death.
Na,
No,
not.
not
To,
to,
but.
but
Sannyasinam,
Sannyasinam,
for the renounced order.
for the renounced order.
Kvachit,
Kvachit,
at any time.
at any time.
So before we go to the translation, I see a few words that inspire me. So, anishtam, leading to hell. We learned in chapter 16 there were 3 gates leading to hell, namely,
Lust, anger.
very good, lust, anger, and greed. You have, lag? Oh, I see. Okay, got it. Yes. If you like, you can decorate the altar as you like. Please do so. So 3 gates leading to hell, lust, anger, and greed. 2 weeks ago in Santiago, I gave a class on different things and regarding bad qualities. And I had to give an example. So for lust, I gave the example of Ravan. How because of his lust, that is what ultimately did him in. His advisors, everyone told him as it progressed, you're losing everything because you are too attached to this Sita. And he was told by his brothers, by so many, just give this up because you're going to lose everything. But he could not give up his lust attachment for Sita. And in the battle, he sent one son after another. He sacrificed his own sons just to satisfy his lust. And ultimately, he was killed. Why? Because of lust. And anger, we have the example of Shishupal. He was so angry. Also Jarasandha. Who else? Kamsa. Kamsa was actually fear.
Fear, afraid.
Fear. He is the example of fear. Ever since he heard the omen, he was fearful. But Shishupal and Jarasandha, they were angry. So lust, anger, and greed. So greed, I have so much, but I'm still not satisfied. I want more, thinking that if I get more, then I will be happy. I'm trying to think of greed. I gave the example 2 weeks ago, but now I can't remember. Hiranyakashipu, you want to give him as an example of greed? Huh? Okay, I have to think about it. You have to present your case. How Hiranyakashipu greed. Because in the case of Hiranyakashipu, what did him in was what? It wasn't greed that what did him in. Okay, but that's not what killed him. What was the cause of Hiranyakashipu's being killed by Nrsingadev?
Because he was torturing his devotee.
He was torturing his son.
Who is devotee?
And that's why, to me, that would be the main cause of Hiranyakashipu's being killed, was that he was torturing his own son who was a pure devotee. All right, let's now go to the translation. Everyone ready to go?
Yes.
We are in chapter 18. Chapter 18.
12.
Number 12. Here we go. Please repeat. For one who was not renounced.
For one who is not renounced.
The threefold fruits of action.
The threefold fruits of action.
Desirable.
Desirable.
Undesirable.
Undesirable.
And mixed.
And mixed.
Accrue after death.
Accrue after death.
But those who are in the renounced order of life.
But those who are in renounced order of life.
Have no such result to suffer or enjoy.
Have no such result to suffer or enjoy.
So desirable, that means we're doing things and we are expecting a certain result. Everybody's doing things in order to increase their happiness or come out of a suffering condition. when we're sick, we do many things so that we become unsick, so that we become healthy. So we're looking for a desirable result. But there's also undesirable results. And that usually comes about when we commit sinful activities. We get an undesirable result. And then mixed. Mixed is usually what we get. We usually get both some desirable and also some undesirable effect by our activities. It's not easy to get a pure desirable effect from our activities. Let's see what Prabhupada says in the purport. A person in Krishna consciousness, acting in knowledge of his relationship with Krishna, is always liberated. Therefore, he or she does not have to enjoy or suffer the results of his acts after death. And of course, what does that remind us of? Is Mr. Kamlesh here? No. Is everything all right? Okay. So if Kamlesh was here, you know what verse I'm thinking of. Sarvadaman parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja ahang tvang sarva papebhyo mokshashyami ma suchaha. Could somebody turn on the lights? I think you could use the lights. So Krishna there says, what does he say? Sarva moksha yashyami. I deliver you from all sinful results. Do not worry, do not fear, do not hesitate. All right, shall we go to text number 13? Haribol. That's always very good. All right, when you're all ready, we'll do text number 13. Please repeat. Panchaitani Mahabaho
Panchaitani Mahabaho
Karanani Nibodhame
Karnani Nivodhame
Sankhya Kritante Proktani
Sankhye Kritante Proktani
Siddhaye Sarvakarmanam.
Siddhaye Sarva Karmanam.
Synonyms: Pancha,
Pancha
5,
5
Etani,
Etani
these, Mahabhaho,
Mahabaho
O mighty armed one,
O mighty armed one
Karanani,
Karnani
causes,
Causes
Nibodha,
Nibodha.
just understand,
Just understand
may, from me,
from me
Sankhya,
Sankhye
in the Vedanta,
in the Vedanta
Krita ante,
Tante
in the conclusion,
in the conclusion
Proktani,
Proktani
said,
said
Siddhaye,
Siddhaye
for the perfection,
for the perfection
Sarva, of all,
of all
Karmanam,
Karmanam
activities.
activities.
Please, please repeat. O mighty armed Arjuna,
O mighty armed Arjuna,
according to the Vedanta,
according to Vedanta,
there are 5 causes
there are 5 causes
for the accomplishment of all action.
for the accomplishment of all action.
Now learn of these from me.
Now learn of these from me.
So this verse, for me, I can use because we're not talking here about religion. This is practical. Anyone should be interested to learn, oh, there are 5 causes for the accomplishment of action. Maybe I can learn something here. Whether you're a Muslim, a Hindu, a Jew, a Christian, it should have no bearing. Krishna here is giving knowledge that applies for anyone. Even a demon can take advantage of this knowledge here. Oh, there are 5 causes for the accomplishment of action. Maybe it can help me in my endeavors. It may be useful. Purport. A question may be raised that since any activity performed must have some reaction, How is it that the person in Krishna consciousness does not suffer or enjoy the reactions of work? The Lord is citing Vedanta philosophy to show how this is possible. He says that there are 5 causes for all activities, and for success in all activity, one should consider these 5 causes. Sankhya means the stalk of knowledge, and Vedanta is the final stalk of knowledge accepted by all leading acharyas. Even Shankara accepts Vedanta Sutra as such. Therefore, such authority should be consulted. Yes, Shankara's whole philosophy was based on the Vedanta Sutra. He wrote his famous commentary, Shariraka Bhashya, on the Vedanta Sutra. That's how he propounded his Mayavad philosophy. He took the statements of the Vedanta Sutra and very expertly twisted them to come up with his Mayavad philosophy. Let us now continue. The ultimate control is invested in the Supersoul. As it is stated in the Bhagavad-Gītā, Sarvasya chaham hridi sanivishta. He is engaging everyone in certain activities by reminding him or her of one's past actions. And Krishna conscious acts done under his direction from within yield no reaction either in this life or in the life after death. So Prabhupada already gave you a glimpse of what's coming in the next verse. The ultimate control is invested in the Supersoul. So now let's go to text number 14. Adhishthanam tatha karta
Adhishthanam tatha karta
karanam cha prithak vidham
Karanam cha prithak vidham
vividhascha prithak cheshtha
Vividascha prithak chesha
daivam chaivatra panchamam
Daivim chaivatra panchamam
adhishthanam,
Adhishthanam
the place,
the place
tatha karta,
also
excuse me, tata, also. Thank you for being so studious. I like this. Karta,
karta
the worker.
the worker
Karanam,
Karanam
instruments.
instrument
Cha,
cha
and prithak vidham,
prithak vidham
of different
of
kinds.
different kinds
Vividha,
Vividha
various.
various
Cha, and prithak,
prithak
separate.
separate
Cheshtha,
chesha
the endeavors.
endeavors
Daivam,
Devam
the supreme.
the spring
Cha, also.
also
Eva,
Eva
certainly.
certainly
Atra, here. Panchamam,
Panchamam
the 5th. So let's please repeat. The place of action, the body.
the place of action the body
The performer,
the performer
the various senses,
the various senses
the many different kinds of endeavor,
and the very different kinds of endeavor
and ultimately the supersoul.
and ultimately the super soul.
These are the 5 factors of action.
These are the 5 factors of action.
So let's slow down. So the place of action, the body, we learned in chapter 13, the body was compared to what in chapter? Which meant field. Yes, the field of activity. So here, place of action, the body. Then the performer, that's the conditioned soul, identifying with the body, like a person driving a car, right? The car is different from the driver, but the driver is, practically speaking, one with the car. So in conditioned existence, the soul has given power of attorney over to the mind and identifies, I am the body, or I am the mind. That is conditioned existence. Then we have the various senses. I was explaining a lot in Santiago last 2 weeks. The senses are like instruments. With instruments, you do things with them, whether it be harmonium, mridanga, guitar. You are different from the musical instrument. You play it, and depending on how you play it, you make music. Some people are more talented or expert than others. So our various senses are like instruments. The eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, and the sense, the skin, or the sense of touch. These are the 5 knowledge-acquiring senses. Then you have 5 executive or working senses. Your hands, you need your hands to work. Your legs, the throat, the genital, and the anus. When these senses are healthy, you live nice. But if there's any problem with any of these 10 senses, life becomes difficult. And what's the 11th sense? Mind. Very good. Very good. And we learned in chapter 15, what are we doing with the mind and senses? According to, Yes. Yeah, including the mind. You're struggling. Struggling. You could say fighting, yes. We're struggling with these because they're very demanding, pushing, telling us, I want this, come on, I need this. Give me, feed me. So we have to learn how to control them. There are many different kinds of endeavor. Yes, even 2 people are doing the same task, they may approach it differently. Not everybody does the same thing the same way. So there's different kinds of endeavor. And depending on the actual endeavor, there are different kinds of endeavors. But ultimately, super soul, Krishna in the heart. All right, let's go to the purport. The word adhishtanam refers to the body. The soul within the body is acting to bring about the results of activity and is therefore known as karta, the doer. That the soul is the knower and the doer is stated in the Shruti, Eshahi drashta swasta, from the Prashna Upanishad. It is also confirmed in the Vedanta Sutra by the verses Gyota Eva and Karata Shastranartvatat. But I know, I can just see Batuk is about to raise his hand because Batuk, as well as me, has read other statements that say what, Batuk?
Soul is not the...
So you're going to find both kinds of statements. Some places it says the soul does nothing, right, Batuk?
Yes.
In the same Upanishads. In the same Upanishads it'll say, but actually the soul is not the doer. So it depends on this, the circumstance, the context, or the angle of vision. Because, as Lord Chaitanya so brilliantly taught us, everything is simultaneously one and different. So the soul can be the doer and the non-doer at the same time. I know, but that's our Vedic knowledge. You have to be able to understand. So how is the soul not the doer, Batuk? How is the soul not the doer?
Because usually the mind and senses work, soul doesn't do it. You know?
Yes, the way the soul is not the doer is actually, the soul is not really doing anything. The soul is in a dream state known as material existence. As you've heard me say many times, material existence is a dream. But as I said a few minutes ago, the soul has given power of attorney over to the mind. And so in that way, the soul is thinking, I am the doer. So in one sense he's not, but he thinks he is the doer. And as long as you think you are the doer,
You're going to get the results.
then you have to get the result. All right, very good. The instruments of action are the senses, and by the senses the soul acts in various ways. For each and every action there is a different endeavor, but all one's activity depend on the will of the